So, hello from my side. My name is Wolfgang Platz. As you may be able to read here, I'm founder and chief strategy officer from Tricentis. Tricentis is a company in the software testing space. I'm going to be happy to elaborate a little bit more on what we do and where we come from. First of all, thanks for the invitation here to this nice conference. I'm going to be pleased to spend the next 30 minutes with you. Just a brief overview of who I am, where I come from. I have a very Austrian career. Started here in Vienna, technical physics, then did some studies in economy and law, and happened to start a company here with the name of Tricentis. I would like to talk a little bit about what happened with us, what happened to us in our company history, and how we dealt with investors, and what we're up to. So, having that said, let's jump right into. First of all, to give you an overview what the company is about, I think it's a little bit hard to read these things due to the quality of this projector. I hope it works. We are about 400 people, started here in the heart of Europe, in Austria, Vienna, located still our headquarters. We expanded into the Asia-Pac region, into the United States. We have a second headquarters here in the Silicon Valley, in Mountain View, and another office in New Jersey, Jersey City, one in Austin. So we're expanding quite massively here in the United States. A pretty impressive customer base. Out of the largest companies in the financial sector, in the insurance sector, we have kind of the who is who as our customers. So that's what it is in all short. I'm going to spend a little bit more on the history. What is our vision? We from Tricentis are here to deliver better software testing. We think that software testing is an industry which is recognized as something pretty boring, not really sexy. The ones who are really fond of IT and development are developers. The ones who are not as good are seen to be the testers. We don't think that's fair. And we want to provide a different quality of tooling in order to increase the productivity there. So this is what we are about, and this is our vision. How did it get there? Why did I start this company? In 1999, I was exposed to software testing and tried to automate software tests the first time in the insurance industry. And this is actually how I felt. You know this picture? Who that is? Sorry? Yes, exactly. This is Sisyphus, this poor Greek guy who carries a huge stone on the shoulder, and whenever he's up, the stone would roll down again and you would start all over, okay? That was basically what happened in software test. For you to give you an idea, when people come up with automated sequences to test other software, these sequences tend to break. And then the automation doesn't work anymore. So that was really the goal or the challenge, so to say, to come up with automation again and again and again, and it would never go automated. So the only chance was to come up with new tooling. And the term Tricentis actually comes from the Battle of the Thermopyles. You have heard that? Another Greek thing. Who has seen the movie 300? Yeah, so Tricentis means 300, Tricentis in Latin, as you know. So there is this Xerxes king coming from Persia, you know the story, and the Greeks want to keep him out, and he goes right to the Thermopyles, right? And Thermopyles, there's this valley, and the Persians want to break through and then go all over Athens. And the Athens people were quite lazy. They were just sitting down there and having a lot of wine and nice things. So they found out, we're not going to make that. So they sent down to Sparta, where Leonidas is down there with 300 warriors. He comes up and he holds the Battle of the Thermopyles and beats, he doesn't beat Xerxes, but he keeps him out. And the Greeks never get occupied by the Persians. That's the idea. So who was the huge Xerxes with his 10,000 people? This was HP. When we started, HP with a very, very dominant product. And I personally never thought we would get to 300 people, but at least we wanted to be strong in fighting against them. So that's the story. And what was driving us was actually a mission to change the automation, the test automation market. And what I want to bring up here as a comparison is different missions that are all meant to democratize things. Democratize computers, the big idea of Apple. Democratize information, the big idea of Google. Democratize commerce, eBay. We wanted to democratize test automation. Why? Because with Tricentis and Tosca, it's possible for people who do not have a tech background to deliver test automation. Beforehand, it was bound to developers doing that. Why do I bring this up? Because I think it's so important that you, when you start your business, you have a strong desire to make meaning. I see a lot of people who try to start their business in the startup industry to make money, primarily, and not make meaning. When you want to make money, forget it. It's not going to get you anywhere. Not even in the Bitcoin thing. Eh? Make meaning, that's the important thing when you go for business. Today, we are recognized, well recognized by the analysts. You know the most prominent analyst out there is Gartner. 75% market relevance. So each and every large customer who wants to make sure that they bet on the right horse, which is us, would go and find out where we are positioned in Gartner. And if you're not part of this here, which is the Leaders Quadrant, you're not well recognized. Today, there's only 2 companies in the Leaders Quadrant. One is Micro Focus, the former HPE, and the other one is Tricentis. So you couldn't be positioned any better. The development has been pretty rapid. You see Jan 2011, that's the first time when we have been in there, and from there on it has always been going up and even to the right, whereas all the others have gone down. So we are very, very optimistic and very, very enthusiastic that we're going to be the number one, the sole number one in the future. What Gartner says is, when you are an enterprise, you want to go test automation, then talk to these guys, meaning us. And it's not only Gartner who is the most important, but the other ones, Forrester and IDC, they also see us as leaders. Unfortunately, the picture is a little blurry, but we are here in the leaders section. So, very nice position to be in. Some history. I started this 1999 as a development endeavor. In 2007, we were prominent already in Austria and in Germany, back then as a services company, whereas the services funded the development, right? We see this quite often. You need to have services in order to be able to fund the development. Then, having that traction, it was time to really switch into a product company, Tricentis as is, and I was lucky to bring my partner Franz Fuchsberger in, who took care of the sales, where I was taking care of product and service delivery. And in 2009, we were named a cool vendor by Gartner. And that is very, very relevant. So first, we decided to spend some money on Gartner. If you don't spend any money, they're not going to make you a cool vendor. But it was not much, actually. And from that day on, the report was out, the phone rang. Investors wanted to come in and wanted to invest in Tricentis. And we always said no. So then what happened was we wanted to increase our market penetration and go for new markets. New markets meaning Asia-Pac, United Kingdom, and also the United States. Why is it so important to have a second geography outside of EMEA? If you are not present in 2 geographies, Gartner would never put you into the Magic Quadrant. So this is the entrance. You need to have it in 2 geographies. So we went for Asia-Pac first, because 2 people approached us and wanted to do the business. Then we went UK and US. Still all bootstrapped. No money taken from any investor. And why no money from any investor? Because, well, we had an tax accountant and he said, guys, don't do it, right? I mean, let's face it, no money is as expensive as the money from an investor. They're all bloodsuckers. So this is gonna be the worst decision that you can have in your life, okay? And as a matter of fact, we said, okay, let's stay away from this. And banks back then, they said, well, if you guys need money, just come. We're going to make that happen. So we felt safe. And here you see now the trajectory of our revenues in license. In 2007, pretty small, you see about 1 million. And then 114% growth, 28 to 28, 93, 43, 38, so it's getting lower. And here's BAM. 2012, we hit a glass ceiling. No growth. And, well, you can blame the economy or whatever, but hey, the economy crash was here, right? So, we hit a glass ceiling. What are you going to do now? First of all, we were thinking to ourselves, what is the reason for that? Why is it not going up anymore? And I don't know if you're familiar with this book, Crossing the Chasm. Who's read this? Okay, it's a very good book. It tells you about market adoption, technology adoption on the market. And what it talks about is that there's innovators, there's early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. These are the different people who want to adopt your technology. And what you see is that when you cross the innovators and you cross the early adopters, that there is something which is called a chasm. And you gotta go beyond that. You gotta cross this chasm. Otherwise, you're not gonna get any further. And believe it or not, we were at the chasm regarding the markets that we had been penetrating. Meaning Austria, meaning Germany, meaning Switzerland, basically, okay? Out of the new business that was taken in test automation, close to 16% was already with us. So we were right in this chasm and not able to cross it. That was EMEA and Asia-Pac. However, I told you that we also tried to make it happen in the United States. But we were not successful in the States. Completely different ballgame, right? Everybody tells you when you go to the States, the probability of failure is massive. Do you know how many Austrian companies that go into the States make it in percent? 13. Okay? 13, 1 out of 8. So same happened to us, and the reason for that is, unfortunately, you can't see this due to this projector here too good, is that the perception of business is completely different. What this says here is, on an objective distribution of what you're doing, if it's junk, it's okay, it's pretty good, it's good and it's awesome. When an American would approach you, guess what? It's all awesome, right? What they do is the most awesome thing that has ever been on earth. When we go out there, the Europeans, we say, yeah, well, it's kind of good, but you know, and they smell this immediately. And they think it's garbage. If you don't go into that mode that everything is awesome, you're not going to make it. You got to change the culture completely. And our culture was way too tech. Our culture was way too explanatory. It was, we can tell you why. Nobody was interested in that in the States. Just tell us what is in for me. That is it. That is it. So we had to change our messaging and our positioning completely when we went to the States. We hadn't been there. So we stalled. So, remembering that there's two sources of cash, right? One source of cash is profits. Okay? That's not going to get you too fast, to somewhere. And the other one is trust. Somebody trusts in your growth of the future. So what we did was we went back to the banks and said, hey guys, remember we've been talking like 1.5 years ago, and you said that money is here like honey is here, and everything is going to be good, right? Unfortunately, they did not recall that. So when I went there and said, I need money, they said, they said, we have an issue, okay? Yeah, the risk assessment has changed. So basically they said, fuck off. Good, that's not good. So what are you going to do now? You got to break through. So we decided to take a call because they were still calling. And that was the beginning of our investor history. And when it talks about investor history, you got to take in mind that Austria, per se, is pretty hostile regarding investors, okay? There is some Austrian sayings which I want to share with you, which I think are super typical to the Austrian mentality. First is, you got to really read this, huh? From the rich, you learn how to save money. That's what some Austrians think. Can you believe that? Who is ever going to get rich by saving money? Huh? So I come from a region which is very close to the Czech border, a lot of poor people. They still believe that. And that comes together with another thing. I own nothing, but that is all my own, right? So before I share, I stick to what I have, even if it's nothing. A lot of people think that way in Austria. So when I talk to somebody, we're thinking about an investor, they all said, whoa, don't do this. Don't never, never, never. You can't share, right? And all that stuff. So nevertheless, we did it. And said, okay, let's screw this, let's go for it. And what we were thinking about is, what is the size of the share? How big a share should we allow the investor to come in? And let's do this little calc here, right? Let's assume today we have like 3,000 K, so 3 mil in bookings, some multiplier on that, 15 mil valuation, and this is all with the founders, okay? And here, now comes the investor. So in order to find out how much we should give them, it is all about a growth expectation. If we say we can grow 20% a year without having an investor on board, this would get us to 26 mil, right? All with the founders. Okay, so let's nail that down. 26 mil, all with the founders. Now we get these investors in, the bloodsuckers. They take 30%. Assume that. What is the minimum growth acceleration that you need to get to in order to make this a good decision? So let's find out. If we stick to 20%, it's a nightmare, right? Just lose money. If you can't believe that you're going to accelerate your growth massively by taking an investor in, don't do it. Or you're completely out of cash, right? Then you have to. So we thought to ourselves, what do we believe? How fast can we grow? And what you find out when you do the maths is pretty simple. When you hit 40% growth, all of a sudden, it makes sense. It makes even more sense for the investor, though. But however, it makes sense for you as well. So basically, with 30%, that you give away 2x of the growth is required. Then it makes sense, if you just take that into consideration. So what you give when you take an investor on is shares away. The shares certainly come with some guidance in your company's governance, meaning participation in the board of directors, of course also in the commercial success. And the formula is pretty simple. 20% you should have 1.5x growth acceleration, 30% 2x, 50% 2.5x. That is what you should expect from your investor. It means that you always got to have your act together to some degree, otherwise you're not going to materialize this growth, right? Because still it's going to be you making the company grow. But this is not all you need to give. There is some more you need to give, as we know, which the investors don't talk too much about. Liquidation preference, bad liquidation preference thingies. And preferred rights, right? Of course. Liq pref can be super painful. Super painful in going forward. We had to accept a 1x liq pref once, and I would always try to get rid of liq prefs whenever possible. I'm on the non-investor side, as you have noticed, huh? Good. But I've also seen like 2x liq pref. There was an investor saying, we want to have 2x liq pref. Really? You're all familiar with these terms, aren't you? Yes. Okay, so that is what you need to give. Shares, risk mitigation, preferred rights. What are you going to get? Money, of course. And funny enough, if you have the right investor on board, others want to follow. As soon as you have a lot of money, a lot of people want to give you a lot of money. because they think that somebody has done the homework regarding the risk check. All of a sudden, the people from Silicon Valley are there, and they say, I want to give you a loan. As if you needed that, huh? Because you just got money. So money buys you money. And then, what they always have on, they say, okay, advice, you can get advice, and you can get a great network. Actually, I would like to put that in brackets, because we have seen it so and so. The first one we had was not so much of that. Okay, so this is what you get in theory. So we took them on. We took them on. Viewpoint Capital Canada, that was our first early investor, and they helped us through this first time of stall. And what happened now was, of course, the Austrian market found that out, and this is Café Landmann, for all the ones who are from Vienna. This is the most famous cafe in Vienna, probably, and everybody who thinks is important meets there, and there's a lot of gossip going around, so people are talking there. And I happened to sit here when some of the competition sat here, and I listened what they said. They said, "Jetzt nehmen Sie den Platz die Firma weg." Meaning, so now he has given it up, and the investors are coming in and gonna take it all, and he's basically done, okay? And how the Austrians are, right? Ha, 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 ha. So the competition was there was a lot of things to talk about. And, well, let's see how it went on. We took Viewpoint Capital on, and we decided to have a CEO from the States. A very, very relevant decision. Because if you want to be recognized in the United States, you got to have two things. First of all, you got to say that your headquarter is in the United States. You may have a second headquarter somewhere else, that's okay. But if your headquarter is not in the States, no go. And you got to have a CEO from the States. And then everything becomes easier. And with that, we did a relaunch. Things did not happen overnight, frankly. It took us time to get back to a sales trajectory. So we had another flat year, and then it went up again. 13% growth, 41% growth, 49% growth. Now, on a significantly higher basis, this is all licensed revenue. Bookings are growing faster even than that. And then in 2016, the phone rang again. But now in a completely different game. Not here, based on zero, but based on a nice growth trajectory with some different market economics. And that led to a huge investment that we could secure in 2016, which was 165 million US, okay? So this is so significant that you can really change your market appearance and you can really drive the growth of the company. It's a completely different ballgame. That's why we have decided to take this on and go for that. So with this in our back, we did the math of how fast do we need to grow and did the trajectory, and we made it a 64% growth from there in revenue. In bookings, it's closer to 90%. And I can say that this really turned out to be a good decision. The part that we had to give away was worth it. Driving it, and it's going to look like this for 2018, if we can believe the prognosis. So this is a little and brief overview of what we have experienced as a company with investors. The first investor only had cash for us. The second one now has the additional values that we have been looking for, like network and experience. These things have really come true. And with this, we're going to face a strong tailwind going upwards. So to summarize things from here, which I would want to share with all people who are about to start their own company here, the most important that I believe is that you should make meaning. If you're not willing to make meaning, don't do it. Because the time is going to be so hard that you're not going to stand it. And there's so many points on the way where you are about to quit, you're going to quit if you don't want to make meaning. So money will follow if you're lucky. Talk to investors when you grow. Don't talk to investors when you don't grow anymore. Don't talk too late to investors, okay? Talk to investors when you grow. It's not so important that you make money already, but you need to grow when you talk to them. When you wait until you stall, basically like we did, you're not going to get a good deal. And you will stall, at least in the IT industry. There's not a single company that has not stalled on the way. And last but not least, now back to the Austrian mentality, don't think too much about what the investor gains. Think about what you gain, right? Because if you're not willing to share, you're not going to get anywhere. And saving money is not going to make you rich. Okay? That was it. Sorry for that. If anybody happens to be in the Silicon Valley in May, we have a conference twice a year, our own company conference. It's called Accelerate. One is in Vienna. We are happy to see you in San Francisco, May 7th. Thank you. And any questions?
I was keen to know what, thanks for sharing this lively presentation, congratulations, success. What do you think makes you think different about investors and approaching also different than the other Austrian companies?
Wow, I can tell you, the maths. When you think you can grow, then take it. When you are absolutely convinced that you can grow and you have your act together to some extent, take it. And you need a lot of money to fuel the growth, right? There is no way. At a certain point, it does not happen organically anymore. Or you're going to be so slow that somebody's going to overtake. In the IT space, I'm only talking about the IT space here, right? Other industries maybe not as fast regarding finding new leaders, but there is no way around, from my perspective. I have seen several great companies with awesome ideas who did not want to go that route, and they're small, they don't develop any further, and I believe they're going to go down without even having taken 5% of their potential. Not even that. Not even 5% of their potential in the global market. But they can go out and tell everybody, it's all mine. Right?
Thank you. Congratulations. Very quick question. Software testing, are you selling it to CTOs? Or
you mean who do we sell to?
Or your salespeople, so they are talking at your customers with the CTOs?
It is, so we are all about enterprise.
Yeah.
And we sell typically to CXO or one level less in the beginning. And then, as it always is, right? When you sell a product, you got to go down to the level of the practitioners and you're going to go up. But you want to be engaged on this high level all the time. If you go out there and sell a product, it's not going to work. People these days do not look for a product. If they look for a product, it's going to be some practitioners who are going to grab some open source stuff. Okay? If you want to make an enterprise deal, you got to sell value, nothing else. The product becomes, the product needs to be a no-brainer. The Magic Quadrant here is our argument, our trump card to say, hey, come on, the product is a no-brainer, right? You really want me to prove that? Really? I mean, 600 customers, all enterprise, and I need to prove the technology to you? People accept that. But they still want to see the value that you can bring in their particular certain circumstances. And that is why you need to keep it high up and stay high up. I think that the direct sales force has massively changed over the last 10 years. in 10 years ago, we were going out there and said, let the product speak. I'm serious. We did a demo, that was it, huh? If you want to do this today, forget it, it's not working. It's all about value.
Last question about when you entered the UK and US market, at that time you didn't have investors, so you should finance it through the profits. It was what type of market entry? Just one people and like a sales guy, or how can we imagine that?
You mean when we started in the other geos?
Yes, yes.
Yes, the geos we always started just as sales offices, and the way we need to do it is actually you always have to have two people, one who can cover the business layer and one who can cover the more tech layer. It is very, very rare that you find somebody who can do this all in one. And it is also difficult to engage then, right? When you are in a meeting, the dynamics are as such that when somebody is involving himself in a tech demo, you want to have somebody watching out from the business and personality perspective. So it is always better to have two. And that is the way we started each and every geography, two. One more business, one more tech, two as a sales office. Okay?
Okay, so if you guys don't have the questions anymore, we are going to end the keynote session, and please applaud him for the nice keynote session.
Thank you.
Thank you.